Brigham Young University has welcomed into its doors over 500,000 students who are equally committed to learning about their disciplines as they are to becoming disciples of Jesus Christ. And all of that would not have been possible were it not for the legacy, the life, the teachings of Karl G. Maeser.
Karl G. Maeser was a man of integrity who exemplified learning by study and by faith.
He was an excellent schoolmaster.
He is a fighter for something good.
He was an amazing man. He had a lot of passion for teaching.
He's a remarkable figure in the history of Brigham Young University, and we owe so much of what we have today to all of the work that he did in those early years of the establishment of BYU.
He was born on the 16th of January in 1828.
Karl G. Maeser attended the well-known and famous Kreuzschule in Dresden, a prestigious gymnasium. This was an exemplary school and thus formed Meisen's reputation as a model for classical education.
Kreuzschule, it's a very famous preparatory school. Those who go through it can go to the university, and that puts them in a very different social class. But Karl doesn't want to stay there. He makes a decision. I need to do something different with my life. And he decided to go to a teacher's college, which was a major drop in prestige. But he went to that school where he found a very different way of thinking about schooling than he had previously experienced.
The school, as it developed in the 19th century, made something out of the person that they haven't been before.
They educated not only with the brain, they educated with the heart as well, and were very kind people and loved the children in a very new and unique way.
Karl was trained in Johann Pestalozzi's philosophy of education, which is a much more of a tender spirit about it, that things should be done with love rather than with the threats and the punishments that were so common in those days.
Pupils were hit on the hands. Some teachers did it this way, some this way.
And it was normal that you disciplined or beat children. But Pestalozzi and the other reformers, he was not the only one, suggested not to beat children, but to love them and have a more warm way to interact with them. But that was new in that time.
I think some people saw him as this authoritarian structure, kind of scary person, but he was the most loving soul that you ever hoped to meet. And his sense of humor was wonderful. I'll tell you one story. Maeser was always so punctual, and one day he was late for coming to class. Well, one of these smart-aleck kids went out to the yard and brought in a donkey and tied it to the lectern. Of course, he sits so innocently, hoping that, see what will happen when the professor arrives. Well, Brother Maeser comes in, he sizes up the thing immediately. He says, that is right, that is right. When I am not with you, you should appoint the most intelligent among you to take my place.
There were few chances for women in the 19th century to develop and to get jobs.
Brother Maeser felt that women should have as much education as the men, and it ought to be the very best. And they ought to be used in every aspect of the school. The very fact that they'd be invited to participate was kind of unusual for a lot of schools. He was a real radical in his way to think about things.
I loved BYU. I loved my education. I was in a major that was mostly women. I always felt really powerful to look around my classroom and be like, look at all these strong, powerful women and all the aspirations that they have. When Maeser first encountered something related to the Church of Jesus Christ, it was actually a pamphlet that ridiculed the teachings of the Church of Jesus Christ.
And Karl read through it, but he knew the spirit of it that was wrong. He really wanted to find out about this church. But there were no missionaries allowed in Saxony at the time. He finds the address of the mission home in Denmark, and he writes a letter to them saying, hey, I'm interested. And they have this flurry of correspondence. And Karl actually is converted before he meets a Mormon. He was a remarkably independent thinker in all that he did.
Because there was no religious freedom in Germany at the time, my third great grandpa had to be baptized in the middle of the night in the Elbe River.
He was one of the first members in Germany itself and in my entire family. I'm pretty proud to be a member of that family and to be able to look back and also have the wish to be as strong as they were back then.
You have to be very brave to do something like that, because he has to have known that he will lose his job after this.
To join the church in those days meant that he would have to walk away from everything he'd been prepared to do as a teacher.
But while leaving Germany and going into a more free world, he made even more of himself than he would have done if he stayed here in Germany.
What you see is a man who's got an independent spirit, who is willing to do what the Lord wants him to do. And he does that his whole life.
Even though leaving Germany was such a huge sacrifice for him, it ultimately ended up being a huge blessing because he was able to use his faith and education to create such an amazing legacy.
If one now regards the Brigham Young University with its many thousand students and everything that is part of the university, it began with the commission of Karl G. Maeser.
Brigham Young put it in a pretty terse kind of way. He said, Brother Maeser, you ought not to teach even the alphabet or the multiplication tables without the Spirit of God. That is all. God bless you. Goodbye. He took very seriously the idea that, yes, everything that we do should be done by the Spirit.
In my experience at BYU, having the Spirit with me as I learn and take these classes has been so important and monumental.
Maeser would say that the best, highest motive for learning is spirituality. You do things because you have a sense of mission. And when you do that, that's much more powerful than anything else you could give them.
One of the things that happened in the early stages of Brigham Young University's founding is that we had a building and they'd worked hard to marshal all the resources, the money to build this building. And right as they were getting to this stage of feeling like, okay, we now have a place that we can call Brigham Young University, they were devastated to find out that in fact a fire had ravaged the building. It had completely burned it nearly to the ground, exhausting what was really all the resources that we had at the time to establish the university. But I love Karl G. Maeser's response to what could have been an absolutely devastating observation when he got to school that day. He said, "It's only a building. Brigham Young University isn't about the buildings that you see all around here. It's about the people. It's about their commitment to our dual heritage of spiritually strengthening and intellectually enlarging." Karl G. Maeser established a pattern of excellence, and that is a pattern that has continued. We're eternally grateful to Karl G. Maeser and the legacy he's left this university. The question that I wrestle with as the 14th president of Brigham Young University is, how do we today carry on the legacy that Karl G. Maeser left this university, that aura of excellence? I hope that all of our students leave with a clear understanding of who they are. If we're to remain unique as a university, as an institution of higher education, we absolutely have to stay laser focused on our students. Their experience is of paramount importance on this campus, and it is absolutely clear to me that Karl G. Maeser's legacy is what informs that on our campus today.